Again, good evening. Thank you for coming here to Geddes Hall, the Center for Social Concerns. Again, for those still arriving, this is also being simulcast in rooms right down the hallway. So if you can't fit in, again, Sister Helen's going to stick around to talk for whoever to sign books. So she's going to be here to as late as we need to be. Just want to let you know, if you want to make sure you see her, but you want to get a good seat, you can go down to the hallways and sit down while this gets simulcast. But again, thank you all for being here. My name is Bill Purcell. I'm the Associate Director for Catholic Social Tradition here at the Center for Social Concerns, and I've been very blessed. One of my jobs is to coordinate the Father Bernie Clark Lecture each year. This Father Bernie Clark Lecture is part of our theme for this year. Every year, the Center for Social Concerns does a theme of Catholic social tradition, and the theme this year is Building Justice in the World, based on the 1971 World Synod of Bishops Justice in the World document. So if you take different courses through the Center for Social Concerns this year, that would be one of the things that you would be reading, would be Justice in the World. Where last year it was Charity and Truth. Years before that, Spe Salvi, so on Hope and Action. So Building Justice in the World, and we thought, who better to speak about building justice in the world but a wonderful sister of St. Joseph. And someone who's well-known but also can really speak about the heart of building justice in the world. So we titled this one, Building Justice in the World, Confronting Evil, since this is also the week of September 11th anniversary, and it's touched many of our different lives, many different people we know, and how do we deal with confronting evil, and how do we look at gospel values in order to do that. This was being taped, so again, you can see that again in the back, as people keep arriving. But there are a couple announcements I want to make people aware of too. One is, since Sister Helen is a Sister of St. Joseph, make sure people are aware their Cushwa Center of American Catholicism, which also is housed right here on the 4th floor of the center, is sponsoring Women in Spirit, U.S. Catholic sisters in North America, and the Center for Social Concerns is a co-sponsor of that. There are actually 10 different events. So this is one of those different 10 events also tied to the Women in Spirit. With the different speakers, and there's an exhibit at the Center for History. With a Notre Dame ID, you get in for free. So I'd encourage you to go to the Center for History and learn about that, learn about the history of these remarkable women and how they've impacted the church in many different ways. Another opportunity that make you aware of is the Center for Social Concerns is working to get an Inside Out course for next semester. And this is a learning opportunity that would be at Westville Recreational Facility. So you would be going to the prison for part of that class. Again, the title of the course is Rethinking Crime and Justice, Exploring New Perspectives. It would be looking at the causes and costs of criminal behavior, how are people and communities affected by victimization, how can we make our criminal justice system as good as it can be for all stakeholders. And so it brings, again, students from the inside and outside of prison to examine such questions from these perspectives. I'm going to ask Ed Kelly and Susan Sharp to stand up. If you want more information about this Inside Out course, to register for it, they're the two professors that will be teaching this and be bringing you and coordinating that. So I would advise you to contact one of these two folks. There's also posters, information around that, about that Inside Out course and that learning opportunity. The other thing is that as you've been walking in, you've been getting handout from the Catholic Mobilizing Network. So, and I want to remind you again at the end, please fill this out if you're interested, especially after Sister Helen's talk. Filling out these forms if you're interested, and then we have baskets in the back to collect those forms. And as we go further, before I move to Father Paul to introduce Sister Helen, I want to tell you about Father Bernie Clark, who was a Holy Cross priest that this is named after. Father Bernie was actually a Holy Cross priest who was extremely humble. He died at 56 years old. He studied medieval history at Berkeley, as well as studying here. He was very engaged in many different ways in not only knowing medieval history, but worked in pastoral work in parishes in California and in Illinois. He actually came to campus here and worked in various capacities. It was very involved in campus ministry, and when he died, he was actually head of campus ministry in the University of Portland, and he had also worked at Cal State in Hayward as a campus minister there. And the reason, again, this is named after him this man he was a native of Montgomery, Alabama, not a place where there's a lot of Catholics. And he served, again, in these different positions, but he had a theory of enough that he used to tell students. And he used to say, students would come here and say, he'd ask them, why are you getting a Notre Dame degree? And they're like, I want to make money. I want to make sure that, I got food on the table and take care of my kids, and I don't ever want to be embarrassed by it. And so he would ask them, he'd say, all right, come back and say, how much is enough? And then people would come back and say, okay, this is the amount. To reflecting on it, praying on it, this is what is enough. He says, step 2 is you never change that. So you stick to that. You said this is what you guarantee. Don't change it because conditions change. You said that this is enough. So he would challenge Notre Dame students then to hold that, and actually alumni have done that. And so that's why you can do things like the Bernie Clark lecture, because it's people who said, I've had enough and I'm going to give back. And that gives support that. So I think it's a lesson that we can learn about. How do we give away what we don't need overall, and how do we look at issues like this in the week of September 11th to be truly people of human dignity. With that, again, I'm going to turn things over to Father Paul Coleman from Department of Theology, who is our acting chair, our executive director, while Father Bill Lease is away on sabbatical in Minnesota. So let's welcome Father Paul Coleman.
Thanks very much, Bill. So on behalf of the Center for Social Concerns, welcome to this Bernie Clark lecture, the 4th annual event named in honor of my confrere in Holy Cross, whom I was able to meet a couple times. And he really was a wonderful man of joy and humor.